We'll look at a few projects, recent projects that I found very interesting. This is called the White Box House by a group called Architecture Lab. The footprint of the house is 559 square feet. It's a very long and narrow house. This parking area is also part of the property of the owners. The floor area is about 1,000 square feet. It's 2 stories. This is the second story main living space. And you see they live on the floor. In this case, it's a wooden floor. This is becoming very common with cushions. This table is movable. It moves out of the way. There's a small dining area. Actually, it's hard to see here, but the architect did a little tricky false perspective technique. The roof slopes and the room becomes narrow towards the back. And it uses quite a lot of built-in cabinetry, which I think is sort of derived from tradition. Everything is built in and very efficient. A lot of Japanese have quite a lot of wonderful storage solutions and approaches. One of the really unique features of the house is a skylight that runs the length of the house. This is the kitchen, and the floor of the kitchen is glass to allow light to go into the bottom. And the kitchen has all sorts of pull-out cabinets, etc., to make it more functional. And what happened was that next door is a 4-story apartment building, and they looked at the light, the sunlight lines, and decided, well, you know, if we want to get light into the house, we can only do it from the top on this side of the house. And they built the skylight here, and this is where the kitchen is, and down to the lower floors. The ground floor has the bedroom, bath, and some storage, and also a guest room. What I found very interesting is that many of these small homes in Japan aren't just providing for basic living space. They're providing something extra as well, something poetic, something entertaining, something fun even. And so the living is down here. They go upstairs, the sleeping, etc. The private zones are really down here, and the more open zones for entertaining and living are upstairs, and has a usable roof as well. And this is also very common, and it actually has a traditional antecedent as well. This is showing a kind of cabinetry, etc. A box for shoes. Every Japanese house needs a box for shoes at the entryway, a combination of wooden cabinetry below, and then a steel frame stair with glass that actually helps illuminate these rooms on the ground floor, which would otherwise be very dark. And this is sort of showing you what that looks like. So the use of light, the use of built-ins, the use of perspective tricks, layering, all of these things are techniques that most Japanese architects have really mastered. This is the TR house by a group called KT Architecture, and it's really a striking house, obviously, to look at. Again, the footprint is a little over 300 square feet, which, you know, you think about it, that's about enough room for to park 2 compact cars. The total floor area, it's actually a 3-story house, has 742 square feet. This is a childless couple, a couple living with no children. Their bedroom is on the ground floor. The second floor has the bath and laundry and those things, and the third floor is a living space. As you can see, it's partly cantilevered out over the parking spot. And this has been a very interesting development in Japan. I believe partly due to the availability and ease of use of computers for engineering. A lot of engineering firms are willing to take on work for single-family houses. A lot of architects work closely with intelligent and creative engineers to come up with solutions. So we would think you're going to cantilever that. You know, it's a steel frame house. That seems expensive, but cost-wise, it's really not that expensive, and it allows people to solve a lot of otherwise very difficult problems. The bedroom is on the ground floor. Here's the second floor, a fairly open stairway up to the open living space on the 3rd floor. Here we have, again, bedroom. The second floor is actually really quite beautiful. Light filters down from above, and they use this very, very bright red color on the doors, and it perhaps doesn't come across in this photograph, but the room sort of glows with this wonderful pink atmosphere. It's really like walking through a kind of sculpture in a way. And the 3rd floor, very white floor. This is also something very interesting about Japanese taste, particularly in the post-war period. I find them much more amenable to very modern living space. I think Americans almost invariably would prefer something traditional, curtains and overstuffed chairs and wood, and we like the tradition, perhaps because we don't have such a long history like the Japanese do, whereas Japanese really seem to enjoy living in a very modern, very spare, even industrial kind of space. And I show this photo because one of the techniques the designers used to make this room open but also private was this band of windows that really encircles the entire room, and it's fairly high. So if you sit down, all you can see, really, I'm actually standing, all you can see are the tops of the roofs of the houses nearby and the trees out there. So sight lines and controlling the angle of light, controlling in which directions the rooms open up is a very, very common technique for a lot of Japanese people. The final house I'm showing today is called the Penguin House, and it's really striking, and it is also very, very innovative in a lot of respects. It's done by a designer office called Atelier Tecto. The designer is Mr. Yamashita, and he worked closely with an engineer named Ikeda. Again, the footprint is only 332 square feet. The total floor area, it's a 3-story house, is almost 900 square feet. It's on the approach to a traditional shrine. It's like a bit of an alleyway, beautiful Zelkova trees, very old Zelkova trees. There's a small street here. It actually was the parking spaces for the parents' home next door. And they thought about, building a house. It's a couple. The husband is a musician. The wife also works. They have no children. They thought about building a home and had basically despaired. But then they talked to the architect and said, well, yes, we can do something here. And basically they converted the parking space into a house. 3 stories. The ground floor, again, like I mentioned, the better designers are not merely providing for the basic minimal living needs. They're also coming up with places for extras, sort of giving the house an identity. The ground floor is a music studio. He's a mallet percussionist. It's room for his band to come over and rehearse. The 2nd floor is bedroom and bath. The 3rd floor is an open living space. And the structure of this building is basically steel. This is a section kind of showing there's a great deal of openness. You can look from the 2nd floor bedroom down below to the entryway. There's a lot of light comes in, certainly floods in from the top. There's very large windows on the top. The corners are split open to get light in there as well. This is the 2nd floor bedroom. It's not very large, by a lot of our standards, but it's certainly very comfortable, especially it has a bit of a diaphanous feel to it. Again, it's very modern. The walls are metal. These walls, in fact, are steel. They're thin steel plates, which those of you who have an engineering background know that if you flex a steel plate, it becomes quite rigid and structurally sound. It has ribs included on it. They used an insulating paint that was developed for the space shuttle program. So it's a very lightweight steel structure. And this allowed the house to come in very, very under budget, about $200,000 for this 3-story house. This is looking down from the 2nd floor. You can sort of look down from the 2nd floor and see who's coming in, and the air circulates very nicely, and the light certainly does as well. This is the bathroom area. It's interesting because in all the other corners of the house, which are sort of gaps between these bent steel plates, they use frosted glass, but for some reason use clear glass in the bathroom, which I don't quite understand. Perhaps they're exhibitionists, but perhaps they simply use a curtain, which they provided for here. And this is the top floor living space. It's really remarkable. It's like magic. When architecture works well, it is like magic. It's like theater. Certainly Frank Lloyd Wright was a master of it. You have a long approach. You enter in some constrained space, and you get to the aha, the explosion of light and color. And it's a very tall ceiling, and these large windows really, you can open them up and literally touch those trees out there. You're living, it's like a tree house. This living in a single room, again, is a very common thing I've seen in Japan, certainly in this recent period, since 2000, since the end of actually since the 1990s. Finding a way to live with one table and to have your family life there. There are some extremes, and this one, this is the stairwell coming up from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, and this is the kitchen corner, regular refrigerator. Of course, you should be aware that Japanese manufacturers have an incredible number and variety of compact appliances for people to use. They can fit almost any home. And this is the cooking surface, and it's over the gap, and this is a little oven down there. It's over the gap of the stairway, and you can see they added in this acrylic, this plexiglass backstop, and I talked to me. That was definitely an afterthought. You know, I think they had this vision of cooking potatoes or something. One falls off and rolls down the stairs. So there are sometimes, you know, improvisations and ways to, you know, deal with last-minute inadequacies. But overall, I find these things very well thought out. And I thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you later.